Is the Xbox Series S holding games back from being released on the Xbox, or is it all a myth? Well, not according to the developers of Black Myth. It's 2025 and it's Sunday, so with both those things in mind, it's gotta be sensational. I'm Mike, and I'm back to talk about the gaming news. And we're kicking off this year with some bad news for the Xbox Series S. So the Xbox Series S is Microsoft's cheaper, less powerful console this generation, but it's a great value because they can sometimes be bought for around $250 on sale, and for a console that plays current games, it's a good deal. But while it's been a good deal for customers, there have been some complaints from developers over the last few years about the Series S. It started in 2022 when a VFX artist came out and said that it was an albatross, and basically it caused a lot of problems for developers. And then in 2023, Baldur's Gate 3 didn't launch on Xbox because they couldn't get co-op working on the Series S. And Microsoft's requirement had been that games have to run on both the Series X and the Series S with the same features for each version. The only difference can be in resolution and performance. Well, in that case, Microsoft agreed to let them release the game on Xbox without co-op on the Series S version because it was a huge game and obviously it was missing from their platform. Well, the latest developers are running into issues with the Series S is Game Science, the developers of Black Myth Wukong. So the game came out last year for PS5 and PC, and of course the Xbox version was absent. So this led to rumors that the developers had signed some kind of timed exclusivity deal with Sony for the console version, and that's why it wasn't on Xbox. The rumor was then fueled a little bit by Microsoft's statement, which basically said that they were working with Game Science to get the game on Xbox, and they couldn't comment on exclusivity deals on other platforms. Microsoft's statement basically saying they couldn't comment on the situation kind of made the rumor seem like they were true. Well, Game Science CEO Feng Ji posted about it on Weibo, which is a Chinese social media site, and he basically said the reason that it's not on Xbox is because of the Series S. The specific issue is the Xbox Series X has 16 gigs of memory and the Series S only has 10 gigs. He went on to say that getting the game to run on that amount of RAM would take years of optimization. The Kotaku article does point out that other games like Call of Duty and Indiana Jones are available on the Xbox Series S. So it's not like it's not capable of running these type of games like huge AAA games, but each developer, team size, and process is different, so it's not a situation where you can point and say, hey, they did it, so you should be able to do it too. So I'm not sure what Microsoft would do in this scenario. They kind of bent the rules for Baldur's Gate 3, but that was just one feature being missing from the Series S, where this will be the game just not being on the Series S at all. So it would be harder to justify bending for this one game. Now I will say, outside of the examples we just talked about, games have generally been available for the Series S, so I don't really see it as a reason to panic if you have like a Series S or something like that. I don't think this is going to be a common problem moving forward, but I am wondering if Microsoft will continue their strategy of doing a less powerful console next generation just because of all the hubbub that some developers are making. There is a rumor that they may be doing a handheld instead of doing a less powerful console next generation, which I feel will be more interesting, but we'll see what happens in the next few years. But we at least know what happened with Microsoft and Tango Gameworks, as in, you know, they shut them down. Well, they're officially back. So if you're not familiar with what happened to Tango Gameworks, they were basically shut down in May of 2024 by Microsoft. They were doing a bunch of layoffs at this time, and Tango Gameworks was one of the studios they decided to shut down. In August, Microsoft agreed to sell Tango Gameworks to Krafton along with the Hi-Fi Rush IP, which was their most recent game under Microsoft. So it ended up being good news for the studio. Well, obviously it's going to take a little bit to move to new ownership and get established again, but Tango Gameworks has announced that they are officially back. So they officially relaunched as Tango Gameworks Inc., and they put out a brief statement basically saying that they're back and they're ready to embark on a new journey. They haven't announced any games yet, but Hi-Fi Rush is really popular, so I could see them making a sequel for that, especially since Microsoft allowed them to keep the IP. But it's great to see that at least one company was somewhat spared from all the layoffs last year. And speaking of last year, we're going to bring the trend of these bi-weekly Switch 2 rumors and leaks over to the new year. Let's just go ahead and talk about it today in our final story. So if you haven't been keeping up with the Switch 2 rumors, alleged pictures of the Switch 2 with the new Joy-Cons have leaked, and accessory makers including D-Brand have started making cases for it. D-Brand specifically claimed that they have the legit dimensions of the Switch 2 and the form factor of their case lined up with the pictures of the system that leaked. So at this point, we didn't see the up, the down, and the all around. So what's left? Well, I guess we might as well just take a peek inside. So alleged pictures of the Switch 2's motherboard have leaked, and one of the things that was different about the Switch 2 is it's rumored to have two USB-C ports, one at the top and one at the bottom, and the motherboard leak lines up with that. Other than that detail, there aren't really any other details that stand out about it, It looks pretty big, but the Switch 2 is rumored to be bigger since it's supposed to have an 8-inch screen. But the leak of the motherboard wasn't the only thing that came out this week. Nintendo published a patent this week as well. So this patent was filed in July 2023, but it basically describes AI upscaling similar to Nvidia's DLSS or Sony's PSSR, where they will be able to take lower resolution assets and upscale them to 4K. It also mentions keeping asset size down to make sure games can fit on their cards, because 4K assets are a lot bigger in size than 1080p assets. In the Eurogamer article, they quote an analyst that mentioned that Nintendo's cards are 32 gigs and that games with 4K assets can be around 60 gigs versus 1080p, which would be around 20 gigs. Now, of course, that would vary depending on the game, and there are games on the current Switch that exceed the card size and require an additional download. The reason I mention this is because this could point to them using the same physical cards that they're using for the Switch. And while Nintendo has confirmed that their next system will be backwards compatible, they haven't said if it's going to just be for digital media or if it's going to include the physical cards as well. So hopefully we'll be able to just pop in the Switch 1 cards on the Switch 2. The other thing I find interesting about the patent is it makes it seem like they're doing their own upscaling tech, but I'm surprised they didn't use DLSS since they're already using an Nvidia chip and their tech is way more mature. But I can also see the point that if Nintendo does their own, it would future-proof them, because if they decide not to use Nvidia, then it wouldn't be a problem down the line. Now, the last part of the article mentions that they interviewed analyst Sirkan Toto last month, and he said that Nintendo is aware of the leaks, which of course now are even worse than they were last month, and they're not happy about it. And he speculates that they may make the announcement earlier than they initially planned due to all the leaks. I mean, either way, they only have until March 31st from what they told their investors, so we'll know some kind of official details relatively soon. But let me know what you think down in the comments. We saw Sony run into some issues with PSSR. How do you think Nintendo would do with their own attempt at AI upscaling? Again, let me know down below, and if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to tell a friend, tell a coworker, like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification button thing to be notified when I drop a video or a live stream. And always do at least 2 things at the same time. Peace out.